complimenting myself and my efforts. And for that, I am really, really, really proud. So that's what that means. So I'm a dead leg warrior, and I will talk about that a little bit more. Okay. So how I got started, and if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to just,
type it up in the comments.
Yeah. Or I don't care. Just ask me, because that way you won't forget. Okay. So how I got started, I dove in immediately. So some of you have probably heard my story, so I'm going to keep it really short. Basically, I was one of those people. So I have a direct upline, but the person I refer to as my upline is Andrea Wallace. She's like my adoptive coach, and she's helped me. She's amazing. So when I refer to my coach, I'm talking about Annie. But I don't want you to think Annie wasn't helping me. So I dove in immediately, doing the best I could. So I watched Annie for a couple of years. My husband went to high school with all the Realmans, so I knew them personally. Like, I knew that they were like real people. They weren't just these like amazing rock stars in this like foreign business. Like, they were legit. And so finally I realized one day I was just telling myself all these excuses, and I just kind of jumped in. I wanted to work the business because I was starting to think about, where I want to be in a couple of years. Where I was married. I wanted to start thinking about having kids, and I knew I wanted to stay home with my kids. And I knew that in that current situation we couldn't financially live off of just my husband's income. So I'm a teacher. I'm such like a type A. I'm a planner. I was already thinking like a few years out, like, what do I need to do now so that I can make a plan for 3 years from now? Because I knew I was going to be devastated if I had this little tiny baby and then I had to go back to work. It just wasn't for me. It's not that it's, I don't agree with it. It's just not something that I wanted personally. So I dove in immediately to coaching. I never kind of looked back. I had no clue what I was doing. I tell people nobody goes to college for Beachbody coaching. Like, you're not expected to know what to do. But I kind of just trusted the process. I saw that vision, that escalator mindset that Pat talks about. Like, I have that. I had it. I have it. I will always have it. I have that vision. And I think that's really important because that has kept me going. When I started to realize that I was on that dead leg, and I was like, oh shit, I have two choices right now. I could be like, screw this. We can record it. Are you recording this? You are. Okay, good. I could be like, screw this.
I started a little bit late, but I got the end of the first slide.
Oh, that's fine. I was like, okay, you know what? I can either say like, screw this. It's going to take me too long. It's going to take me too much time. I don't know enough people. I literally can't do this by myself. Or I can screw all the excuses, like throw them to the side and be like, let's do this. And that's what I wanted to do. I love this business. I loved it from day one. And so I just kind of jumped in. 4 months, and I'm not even looking at I don't even know if I'm going off of my slides right now, but 4 months into coaching, I got pregnant, and I was teaching. So essentially I was a 6th year teacher. So I was teaching full time. And for any of you who are a teacher or know a teacher, you know that teaching is not from 8 to 3. It starts before 8. It goes until nighttime. It's over on the weekends, and we don't get paid anymore for all of the extra effort. And I was coaching part-time, and I was literally growing a human. And so I gained 60 pounds with my pregnancy. I tried my best to be that, I wanted to be that super fit, awesome pregnant coach who has like this perfect body, like Bonnie Engel, and it just didn't happen. And so it is what it is. I did the best I could. So I kind of laugh when people tell me they're not in, good enough shape to be a coach. And I'm like, oh no, I legit gained 60 pounds. So if you think about it, I started 4 months in, I got pregnant. So my whole foundation of my business was based on me gaining 60 pounds. But I used what I had to build my business, which was connecting with other pregnant women or connecting with other, new moms who wanted to get back into shape. Like, I just really honed in on my niche. So instead of using it as an excuse, I kind of just used it, to my benefit. And I just, I did what I could. And I just needed to be that example to people that even if you do gain 60 pounds, as long as you're doing the best you can, you're working out when you can, you're making healthy choices when you can, and and then the bounce back after having my baby was huge too for that niche. So like I said, I saw the long-term possibilities. I was willing to get uncomfortable. I was willing to share my vision, and I was willing to show up when it wasn't convenient and when I didn't have time. I think that's really important. Having that vision at the top of your escalator and just never looking back. The other thing that I know really helped me was having an emotionally attached why. So, not just, like we say, this business is all about helping people. We're all here because we like to help people, but you have to dig really deep and find that why that you can really connect with on an emotional level, because that's what's going to keep you showing up every single day. The fact that you like to help people is great. Like, we wouldn't be here if we didn't like to help people, but that's not going to, make you get up an hour earlier when you don't feel like it. And that's not going to make you, you use your lunch break to work instead of, eating with the other teachers in the teacher's lounge. Like, you have to have that emotionally attached why. Okay. So my why is my son. And I started crying when I was talking about this in Orlando, and I don't know why. I'm not like an emotional person, but I don't know. It's just like, I love him so much. And, so I started by saying I'm a red personality. So I don't know if any of you have taken that color code personality test, but it's a really good one if you haven't taken it before. And it's just kind of cool to kind of know about yourself. And then it also, I like to know what my personal sponsor coaches are, because it kind of helps me know how to relate to them too. But basically it's just a series of questions that try to target, like, what kind of personality are you? And I'm a red, and red stands for money, driven by money. And at first I was like, hey, that's weird. I've always felt like uncomfortable and weird talking about money, never mind posting about it. And I don't know, I just kind of have always avoided money, like in whatever situation besides the business or not. And so at first I was like, okay, that's a little strange. But then I started, it was actually, I can remember it vividly. It was on a national wake up call, and it was a top coach. I don't remember who it was, but she spoke about how, it's not about money. It's about what the money represents. Because thinking about, I'm driven by money, I feel like shallow, like I don't feel comfortable, like especially sharing that. But it's not about the money, it's what the money represents. And for me, the money represents my son. Like, behind those money dollar bills is a big fat picture of my son. And because for me, the money represented more flexibility for our family and for him. And so for me, it's allowing the financial aspect of it is allowing me the option to stay home with him and continue to build my business from home, rather than having to go back to teach and put him in daycare or, with a nanny or whatever. So that was like a huge aha moment for me when I heard that on the national wake up call, and it kind of just rocked my business in a good way. So my first why was to stay home with him. Like I said, even before I even knew he was coming, I was already on a mission to create this life that was going to, allow more flexibility. I didn't know exactly how it was going to look exactly, but I knew that I was willing to work my ass off to make it happen. He literally pushes me to work as hard as I possibly could. So 2 years into coaching, I actually achieved that. So 2 years into coaching, he was born. So I had just started coaching 2013, and then 2014, and then 2016 he was born. And so I had been a coach for 2 years, and because of the work I had done take that back. Nothing. Yes. No. Okay. That's where I'm getting confused. 1 year into coaching, he was born. And so that year is when I was pregnant and coaching and working full time. And because of all the work I had put in, I was able to take a really, really long extended leave of absence. With teaching, usually a teacher would take, he was born the end of April, I would take May, June, the summer, and then go back in the fall. But because of coaching, and only with a year, I was able to justify, like, it wasn't 100% comfortable, but I was able to justify taking that whole next year off. And so, despite being a pregnant person and still teaching, I just worked my ass off. And then while I was on that maternity leave, I wasn't sitting back and be I'm just going to enjoy life. I have all this time off with my son. I was hustling. I can remember he always liked to move. So I always had him in the ergo, on my chest, and I'd be walking around my house on my cell phone. I was just willing to put in the work, all the time because I knew it was going to be even worse if I was able to stay home with him for 16 months and then I had to go back to work. Like that's going to be even worse. I just knew I'd be like a disaster. So then by the time I had to decide if I was going back or not, I hadn't replaced my income by any means, but with thinking what we would pay for daycare and like then we have a dog and a dog walker and a gas money, it just didn't make sense. So because of the hustle that I put in, been able to retire. And so now I'm home with him full time and it feels really freaking good. So I really encourage you to dig really, really, really deep. And, I know that this definitely evolves, especially if you're a newer coach on this call. If you haven't identified what that emotional why is yet, that's totally cool. Obviously you're here to help people, but I would encourage you to kind of be cognizant of it. Like keep thinking, if you can keep, thinking about it as you progress in this business, I think you will really benefit from finding something. And not everybody's going to have a why like mine. Everybody's whys are going to be totally different. And that's okay too.
Sometimes they change. I think for a lot of us, what we start off thinking is our reason for doing this. Life can change in the blink of an eye. And all of a sudden now you have, like with me with teaching, I mean, I love my job. I never wanted to leave teaching, but then my situation changed within my job and all of a sudden I needed a different option. So kind of paying attention as you go.
Absolutely. I lost my spot. So here we are. Okay. I knew that wasn't the right slide. Okay. Hold on. How do I do this? Slideshow. Okay. So, are you kidding me? Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So my schedule then versus now. So as a I kind of appreciate that I have this, I can kind of understand how it is to work this business as a full-time 9-to-5 person and someone staying at home and doing it part-time, full-time from home. So as full-time, I was pregnant and I was working. I would work out. So I always had my pockets of time. You've probably heard us talk a lot about pockets of time, but it's really, really, really important to make sure that you are using the time that you do have, because everybody's busy, life is busy, but using the time that you do have to be as effective as possible. So I would get up and I would work out before work, and I would try to get my posts done, my social media posts done first thing in the morning. So I had that pocket of time in the beginning of the day. I started to use my lunch break for working my business rather than doing my schoolwork, especially like towards the end. I was just like halfway out the door already. And so my focus shifted, like my priority shifted. I was definitely still doing what I had to do to teach, but I was putting myself and my business first when I could. So, I had to get a little bit creative with finding pockets of time. So I got up early, even when I didn't want to, using my lunch break every day at work to work my business versus, sitting in the teacher's lounge and just kind of vegging. And then at night I would work for like a solid 2 or 3 hours. And, when I say these pockets of time, I think it's important to go that extra step and think about exactly, when you're thinking about kind of like your like business activity tracker, like your activity sheet where you have your daily tasks, I think it's really helpful to pinpoint exactly what you're going to do during each pocket, so that when you do sit down and you have 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're not spending 5 or 10 of those minutes kind of, browsing your to-do list and figuring out which one you're going to do. So then you have, you say to yourself, okay, I have these 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're sitting down and you're looking at your list and you're getting to work. Because I know for me, I used to have like this big, long like list, and it was just a long list. And so I would spend like 5 minutes kind of thinking about what I wanted to do, what I had time to do, what made the most sense to do. And so based on where, when that pocket was, where I was, like if I was at school or at home, would help me figure out what I was going to do when. So for example, using my lunch break. So I'm at school. I'm probably not even supposed to be working my business anyway. So I was doing things that didn't require a lot of thinking. Sending friend requests on Facebook was really, really quick and easy. Answering messages that were in my inbox, if they weren't going to be like a long sales type convo. If it was just a quick message, checking into my challenge groups and being active in challenge groups. And then I left things like, and I still do this now, like invites and follow-ups for when I was home and I was like on my couch and I had like a serious solid amount of time to like concentrate. I just feel like invites and follow-ups for me, I just want to concentrate more and, you know, give those convos a little bit extra attention. So just thinking about when are your pockets of time and what can you do during each pocket to be, you know, ultimately super effective and get as much done as you can. Then on the weekends, I pretty much worked, and I still kind of do, working all day on Sundays to kind of, you know, catch up from the last week and kind of prepare and plan and get ahead for the following week. My belief and my vision were so big that I was willing to make short-term sacrifices, and this is still true. For example, less sleep. I don't get enough sleep. It's really, really hard for me to kind of shut down at night. I'm always looking, and I see Marie and Joe nodding their head. It's hard. It's really hard because I just always feel like I want to be doing something more to, you know, continue to get ahead. And I watch a lot less TV than I used to because I have that vision. It's at the top of the escalator. I know that the short-term sacrifices for the long-term results are really going to pay out. So now things look a bit different. I work full-time. I consider myself full-time. I work like 35-ish hours from home while being home full-time with my son, Grayson. It definitely took some adjusting at the beginning, but now we've kind of found a way to make it work. And I think that's, you know, true for every kind of transition and, you know, different for each household. But I am home. And so I don't stop to say, okay, well, I'm home and I have his nap time. I'm going to work out during his nap time. I'm going to sleep till he wakes up and then I'm going to work out at his nap time. Nope, I need to hustle during his nap time. I call it my nap time hustle. I'm getting as much as humanly possible done during his nap time, so I don't have any time during his nap to waste working out. So I wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, well, 4 days a week. I do let myself sleep till 6 one day. It's like crazy. But I wake up at 5 to get my workout done, my PD. I wake up, I drink my Energize while I'm reading my PD. So like while that's kicking in, I'm reading 10 pages of PD. And then I am pressing play. Especially I had to start as soon as possible, especially when we were doing 80-day. Now that we're back to like 30-minute workouts, it's a lot easier. But then I'm posting on my social media, checking in with my challengers and checking into my groups as much as I can before he wakes up. So you can see I'm still having those pockets of time. It just kind of looks a little bit different now. I do. Yeah, of course.
I was just curious about with your posting now versus then, like, are you writing your posts day by day now? Were you then like, were you ever doing more like kind of batch creating of posts over the weekend? Or?
That's a good question. I have never been able to be a like planner of my posts. I'm a huge into just like, I'm spur of the moment, kind of whatever I'm feeling kind of a poster.
Okay. I was just curious. Not that, I mean,
No.
Everybody does it differently. So
yeah.
I was wondering.
I've never been able, I would sit there on a Sunday and be like, I have no clue. I'm more of like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, or something happens, like I sleep late and then I can talk about how, you know how it goes. I'm definitely an in the moment kind of a poster. So I do work 2 times in the morning. I do send him to school. He certainly doesn't have to go to school, but he actually loves it and it's good for me. I get to go to Starbucks and work for, 2.5 hours twice a week. I work during his nap every single day. I work around his nap. So like if we're having a play date, I make sure we're home for nap time. If we're going out with my mom or something, I make sure we're home for nap time. Because not only does he need to nap, but that's my work time. And I've sometimes have had family be like, wow, you're really strict with nap time. Or I had my dad come over and it was nap time and he rang the freaking doorbell and the dog barked and then the baby woke up and like he couldn't understand why I was so pissed. Like, 'cause you don't understand. This is my work time. Like nap time is sacred. So then I ended up getting a sign. This is so off topic, but I got a sign from Etsy that was like, do not ring the doorbell. Text me or call me And if for like all the FedEx dudes, it's like, please leave the package by the door. Thanks so much. Like, do not F with my nap time, because that's my work time. And then I'm working every night, usually definitely Monday through Thursday, usually Sunday through Thursday. And I let myself take off Friday and Saturday nights. This is the other thing that I guess is pretty interesting, and I think it could be helpful to a lot of people. And I guess when we were in Orlando, I didn't realize that it was, a lot of people benefited from hearing this. I also get a lot of help from my husband, and it doesn't have to be your husband. It could be, I was thinking about this today in preparation for this call. It doesn't have to be your spouse. It could be like a friend, a neighbor, somebody you want to kind of like barter with a little bit. But basically, my husband is so he has an account, like he's my controlled business center, which you should sign up your significant other on your weak leg. So he has a business, but he doesn't work his business like I work his business. Instead, behind the scenes, he's helping me do things that don't need, and I learned this at the GoPro event when we were in Vegas this past fall. And Eric talked about like whatever doesn't need like the Brooke touch or the Kerri touch, like whatever doesn't specifically need you, see if you can get somebody else to help you with that. So for example, my husband, he controls like all of my leads. So part of the lead program is, Beachbody gives you free customers. He kind of controls all that because I don't need to talk to them, at least not initially. So he has like an Excel sheet and he just keeps track of like who we've messaged, who we've emailed. He sends out that initial email. And then he like talks to me. And if somebody writes back, then I'll take it over from there, because then then it's just a natural conversation. It's not scripted or anything. But that initial email is okay to be scripted. It's my own words. I don't feel the need to change it from person to person. Same thing. He sends out my Facebook friend requests from people who are liking my business page. And then he sends that initial message, because the initial message is just copy and paste. It's my own words. And there's no need to change it for every single person until you know that the person is the least bit interested, and then they can take more of your time and you can have that natural conversation back and forth. But until you know that they're invested even a tiny bit, there's no need to reinvent the wheel every single time. So I would encourage you to think of help, and not even just with the business too, but like my husband does a lot of extra things like around the house, because he knows that this business is for us and our family. He knows that it's, by me working more, it just means that we're creating a better life for our family in the future. So he does extra dishes and he does extra cooking. So I think it's important to have that conversation with your significant other, and seeing, having that conversation and seeing if there's ways that you guys can work out together, how you might be able to sneak in an extra 30 minutes of work here or there. Or maybe, my husband has slow times at work. He works in accounting. So like the beginning of the month is really busy, but then towards the end of the month, he's able to help me like while he's at work. Like it's not even taking any of his personal time anymore, So just kind of getting creative and kind of thinking outside the box a little bit, that it doesn't have to be 1000% you. Also, a lot of people, especially on Team Boom, we have like virtual assistants, like people that we pay. That's always an option too, if you're, depending on how much help you're thinking you're needing, kind of investing in your business a little bit, because this is a legit business, and, you've got to put a little bit of money in if you want to see some extra benefits, I should say. So just something to think about. So I have 3 top tips for new coaches and veteran coaches, and I don't even know how long I'm taking. Okay, that's not bad. All right, so 3 top tips for new coaches. You're going to make mistakes. It's just inevitable, but it's part of the job, and it's good. I think making mistakes is good because you're going to learn from them. Again, like I said, nobody went to school for Beachbody coaching. You're not expected to know everything. And there is quite a big learning curve at the beginning. But if you can, stick it out, stick to the basics, lean on your coach, lean on your team, and just keep moving forward. You make a mistake, you learn from it, you fix it, and you don't make it again the next time. But don't let fear hold you back, because if you're not willing to make a mistake, like you're never going to be moving forward. You have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, which it may be having fear that you're going to make mistakes, because that's just part of the game. Dig deep to your why. And that's, again, why that strong emotional attached why is really important, because that is going to fuel you forward, whether you are fearful of making mistakes or not. Like with me and my son, like, I don't care how many mistakes I make. Being home with him is worth making all the mistakes in the world. Like, I just don't care. And I just know that it's going to make me even better and stronger coach, because I'm going to learn from that and keep going. I always like to talk to my team about growing by stepping outside our comfort zone. So, we have to evolve with this business, even if things aren't in your comfort zone, like starting the 2B mindset because you're so comfortable with the containers. Like, it's not about you. It's all about how you can become a better, stronger coach. And you can do that by growing, using the 2B mindset yourself, and then you're able to reach that many more people, Yeah. So you're going to make mistakes. It's part of the game. It's okay. Get a success partner or partners. I always try to help my coaches kind of try to pair them up with someone or 2 or 3 people who I think they would kind of mesh well with, based on like their home life, their goals in the business, how long they've been a coach, that sort of thing. Having success partners right off the bat for me was huge. It kept me going. I felt like I had an outlet, a place to ask questions that were never silly, because they were always in the same position as me. So we were like learning together. 3 years in, I still work with one of my success partners really closely, but I've gained more along the way too. So it's not like you can't, your success partners can evolve, because we can learn a lot from each other. And I really think having a partner in this makes all the difference. So definitely talk to your coach if that's something you think would be helpful. Focus on your journey first, and the rest will follow. I'm kind of establishing this for myself. I kind of got lost in my own journey. I let kind of like the business kind of take over. And I kind of got lost in the fact of, putting my journey first, really doing a program that I loved. I started not loving the containers anymore. I fell out of love with my own journey, and I didn't even realize it for a while. And my business was suffering as a result of that. But then 2B Mindset came out, and I just totally ran with it. And, I found a program that I went back to a program that I know I loved. And it just, and it really showed through my invites, through the conversations I was having, through my posts. So I know it's easy to forget sometimes. But always think about your journey first, because if you are showing up for yourself and you are showing that through your posts and your invites, then people are going to respond. People can see that. It may not be obvious to you, but people can sense that through your posts and your invites and the way you're conversing with them. And focus your PD on whatever would help you in that moment. I know especially when I was a new coach, I got caught up a lot with like, oh, Caroline Nathan is reading this, and Amy is reading this, and I never really stuck to one thing, because I could never really kind of, I couldn't. What's the word I'm looking for? Like it didn't relate to me in where I was in my business, and so I didn't see the value in it until I started really.
That like PD FOMO. And so you would just jump.
Yeah. It was like, I didn't want to miss out on like the cool thing that they were doing, but like, it was totally above my head, or like I had not, like wasn't struggling in that area. So like, I didn't relate to it, and I didn't like care about it, Right. So when I started listening to things that like really resonated with me in my personal life or my business at that moment, and I could really like learn from it, it made all the difference in the world. So, think about, take a second, stop to think about what it is you're struggling with, what would help you. If you need help, if you can identify what you're struggling with, but you don't know a book or a podcast or what would help you with that, reach out to your upline, reach out to your team, because, between everybody and everybody's experiences with different books and such, we can always recommend something that would help you. And then my tips for veteran coaches. Find your passion and have fun with it and let that show it. So it kind of goes back to the newbie coach tip with, sharing your journey and being in love with your journey. Like I totally just kind of, like I said, fell out of passion and love with my own journey. I was just leading with the business, like go, go, go. And I wasn't stopping to think about, my own personal journey. And I think that was really evident. So really like go back, kind of reflect, figure out what you need to do to find your passion again, and have fun with it and let it show through your posts, through your convos, through your invites. Even if we've been a coach for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I think it's important, and I think it's helpful to know that you can always kind of take a step back and figure out where you are and where you're going, and take that time to kind of reflect. Evolve with the time. So kind of like what I was saying about the 2B mindset. Evolve with the times, what's new, what's popular, what's happening. Even if what you're doing is working, be open-minded to new opportunities to help other people. So what I mean by this is like, I have 2 examples of myself. When Instagram started getting really kind of like hot and popular again, I was really, really, really not into using Instagram because I have my Facebook business page that I have put a lot of time and money and effort into it. And it was like my little baby. And I like didn't want to not use it anymore. So I was really like totally against using Instagram until I realized like it's not about you. It's not about the followers on your business page. Like I can continue to use my Facebook business page, but I also should be figuring out how to use Instagram as a platform to reaching new people. It was like I didn't want to put in the effort and the time because I was, feeling like I already put that time and effort into my business page. But when I stopped to think about how it's not all about me, and it's not about what's easy for me or convenient for me or what I want to do, it's about what works best for this business in this moment and how I can be the best coach and reach the most people. And that was using Instagram. Now I'm obsessed with it, and I do still use both. The other one was the 2B mindset, and I talked to my team a lot about this. I think a lot of us are comfortable with the containers, and we know how to use them. We know how, we know what plan we're in. We know what foods work best for us, and it's just comfortable. And so when the 2B mindset came around, people, it kind of rocked people's boats a little bit. Like, it's foreign, it's uncomfortable, I don't know what to expect, I don't know if I can do it. And it's, it's not about you, and it's not about, it is about your journey, but it's not about you and what's comfortable. It's about what's going to make you the best coach, what's going to allow you to do the best job you can. And that the way to do that is to use these incredible products and programs that Beachbody is providing us with, that's allowing us to reach that many more people. I mean, think about the niche that we can now reach with 2B mindset of people who already have a workout regimen in place, or people who don't want to work out, people who don't have time to work out, but finally there's a program that targets nutrition only. Like, that's a huge, huge, huge genre of people that we can now tap into. And being a leader, you got to have a team name and a team page. For the longest time, I didn't start my team page because I was like, I don't have enough people. I feel awkward. It's only like me and then like Joe. And I don't know. I just feel weird. Like, there's not enough people. I didn't have a name until finally I was like, you know what, screw it. So I still didn't have a name yet. I think I called it Brooke's Coach Huddle forever until I was able to really commit to a name. And I made my group, and I did the best I could. Everybody starts somewhere. I just had this, I don't know, I wasn't confident not having enough people, but you gotta, like Ashley Feldison says, you gotta be the leader that your future team needs. So start learning to be that leader that your future team needs, whether it's you and one other person. Like, show up, put your call reminders in there, put your motivational things in there, put an SC board in there. It was just you and one other person, but show up, because eventually people are going to start joining you. And when they do, you're already going to have this plan in place and this mindset and this mentality to be a leader, when others are ready to join you. Lead from the front. You can't expect people to do something that you're not doing. Like, you need to get on calls so that they'll get on calls. You need to get to live events so that they'll get to events. You need to be inviting. You need to be showing up every single day so that they, you can ask the same of them. They can expect that they should do it because they see you doing it first. Become a leader for your personally sponsored coaches and their coaches. So this kind of goes hand in hand with, having that team page and that place, like that community for your personally sponsored coaches and your coaches' coaches. Some ideas, you don't have to do them all at once, but some ideas are things like, create your own Coach Basics group or Coach Basics system. My team and I, we run coach sneak peeks every single month. We run them together. And I have my coaches and their coach, like any leaders that are in my team, I have them help me do the posts for that coach sneak peek. So, I'm essentially running the group, but I'm having all of the leaders on my team help lead so that they're learning to lead, because essentially at the end of the day, you want to be a leader of leaders. So not only am I running this group, but I'm also helping my leaders become leaders, because I want them to eventually branch off and run their own coach sneak peek with their personally sponsored coaches. So taking that opportunity to not only lead, but then to help others learn to lead. Obviously running our own challenge groups and your own free groups, if that's something that you are trying to do. If it makes you uncomfortable, it means that you should do it. For me, that was team calls. Team calls is only something I added maybe 3 or 4 months ago. It was and I've been a coach for 3 years. I just dragged my feet on team calls. I don't know what it was. It's just my confidence in my leadership, and it's a work in progress. But in hindsight, I wish I did it, from day one. Because again, you want to act as that leader that your future team is going to need. Oops. I just couldn't see the bottom. That's why I moved it.
Again, that was on the list for I saw some wide eyes in there. That was on the veteran coach list. So that was not a new coach.
Oh yeah. No, this is veteran coach list.
Yeah. Veteran coach list, guys. So if you're a brand new coach, we're not trying to make you
scare you. Yeah, no.
Terrify you right now. Veteran coaches, if you know what you're doing, you've already been in lots of challenge groups, you've already been leading free groups, or you've been doing them with your upline coach for a long time. This is kind of your push to spread your wings and have confidence, and take a leadership position in whatever it is that you're doing. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. And then the last thing I have here is just creating systems. So you want to, think about what you can do to not only lead your team and lead your customers and such, but then creating a duplicatable system that then your leaders can go on to do. So like, for example, I just completely updated like my Coach Basics system. I was doing like the 2-week Coach Basics, beginning of the month, 1 video a day type of a deal. And I realized it wasn't really duplicatable, but also it wasn't allowing like my new coaches who wanted to run, because they had to wait until the next Coach Basics started. Then there's only 1 video a day. Like some people want to watch all those videos in one day and hit the ground running. So I kind of revamped it a little bit, and I did kind of following Ashley Dyson's system with, videos and on my website, and people can access them at their own pace. And so it's helpful for my new coaches who want to, take it at their own pace, but it's also for my leaders now. They can just duplicate what I did. I duplicated it from Ashley, and now my leaders can duplicate it for me. It's just videos that they can make and, keep going instead of having to reinvent the wheel. So it creates consistency across the board for my downline. Which I think is really helpful. And I know I've gotten a lot of great feedback on that from my team. So again, for veteran coaches. That's it. You guys have any questions?
Yay.
Whew.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So I'm at the crossroads I have so many hats, meaning just my life in general. I enjoy doing a lot of things, which is motorcycle riding, yoga, trapeze. I'm like all over the place. So I had advice from this one coach, and she was like, it's not even in Team Boom, somebody outside. She said, you need to stick with one thing so people will know you, but that's not me. So I get kind of twisted with, that's not me, but I need to show people what I do, but I don't want to be like, this is everything. You see what I'm saying? Like, how do you trickle that in without people saying, what is she really doing?
You mean like just your hobbies, like your life?
Yeah, just like my life. I do it on my stories, right? Because so I didn't want to like put it in my page, but I do it on my story so people can see what I'm doing. So is that a good idea to just keep on doing it like that? And then
I mean, definitely in your stories, but there's nothing wrong with putting all the parts of you on your social media pages too. I think it's important for people to get to know you,
Yeah,
not just one part of you.
5 things. I don't know that I'd agree with that coach's advice at all.
Yeah,
I know.
The only exception to that would be is if your entire page was a fitness account and you already had an established fitness account, rock with what's rocking, sure. But if I would not agree. I do not agree.
I think she means like if to do a program every single day, like maybe if Thursday is day 5 of Insanity Max 30, maybe that day she wants to go do hot yoga. So is that kind of what you mean, Deidre? So how do you look? Like maybe you might be looking inconsistent as a coach, but overall you just love fitness. So is that kind of what you're asking, if that is doing you a disservice or if you should be sticking to one program? Is that what you mean?
Well, my pages are basically my life, including it's like family, fitness, fun, faith, and meditation. That's all me. So if I take parts of me out, that's not staying true to what I'm talking about. So
don't take anything out.
Yeah.
Right. It just, it just threw me for a loop. I'm like, no, people know that I work out. They can see that I work out and they know that I'm serious about it. So that's where I was kind of like, what? Let me ask somebody else.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Brooke? If not, girl, we might just have to send some your way as they're thinking of them.
Yeah, of course.
We got to take the pick, though. So I'm going to need, especially if you're a new coach, get that video back up. We do Fit Crew, we do hearts. Lisbeth, I totally agree with that comment you just put in there. So appreciative that you were able to let us all join together for these couple calls, Brooke.
Of course. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Guys, I need you want to do half of mine though, so that I can, otherwise it's just a downwards. It's like
Come on, Joe.
Okay, get them up. Allie, new hearts. There we go. Yes. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Yep. Okay. I'll put that out. Nice job. Go team. I hope you guys all have a good night. I'm going to stay on for a couple extra minutes because I always do, but the recording is off.